All right. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Douglasville Planning Commission meeting. I am Martin Raxton, the Chairman of the Planning Commission. The other members of the Planning Commission are Faye Dobbs Carter, Ruth Morgan, Larry Toney, Keith Barnett, and April Streetman. The staff members here are Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, Susan Littlefield, Assistant City Attorney, Maya Jackson, Planner 1, Ryan Anderson, Zoning Administrator, Marcus Thompson, Project Manager, April McCown, Economic Development Director, Brianna Watts, Main Street Coordinator, and Jennifer Owens, Administrative Assistant 3. There are a few protocol items I need to make sure and make you aware of before we start tonight's meeting, so please listen attentively. Keep your comments and presentations on a professional level dealing with the facts that are important to this commission to make its decision. We will not accept comments that are considered to be personal attacks or any individual or group of individuals. You will receive warning from myself, and if you deviate from this requirement, a second deviation will result in a request to exit the meeting. Refrain from any applause and comments from the audience. Only one person will be talking at a time, and all comments will be made at the podium after the speaker has been recognized by myself. Please direct all comments to myself and the commission and not to the audience or city staff. Please do not, again, applaud or react to speakers, speak from the audience, cheer, or carry on any disruptive activities or order of this meeting. Be aware that these hearings are not a debate or an opportunity to ask questions which must be answered by any individual tonight, but are merely an opportunity to present information to this board. Other than the applicant, no person may speak more than once. The applicant may reserve part of his speaking time as rebuttal and may speak first and last and may use the entire 20 minutes allotted for the pro side of the application. Other than the applicant, no person may speak longer than 5 minutes. If you have a pager, cell phone, or other electronic device, we ask that you either power them down or put them into silent mode at this time. If anyone wishes to speak tonight, please fill out a form available on the table up front and hand to staff before approaching the podium. After each case is called, we will first hear from the Community Development Director, and then we will hear from the applicant or their representative about what their plans are for the property, along with any other relevant information that they wish to present. The commission members will be free to ask questions at any time before the vote on a project. Following the applicant, anyone who wishes to speak for or against the project or just has some questions will have an opportunity to do so. The city ordinance restricts each side to a maximum of 20 minutes, or time may be waived at the discretion of the presiding official. If questions are asked, we may ask the applicant to speak again. Afterwards, we will call for a motion and second, have any necessary discussion, and if the matter is not tabled, we will vote to recommend approval or denial of the application. This commission is only a recommending body. The item will be heard by the mayor and council, whether we recommend approval or recommend denial. Unless tabled, these items will be heard by the city's mayor and council at their legislative meeting on Thursday, August 13th, and then voted upon by them at their meeting on the following Monday, August the 17th. Are there any questions? All right, at this time, the commission members have received copies of the minutes from our July 7th meeting. At this time, does anyone have any correction or noted changes to the minutes from the July 7th Planning Commission meeting? Okay. All right, with being none, I'd like to entertain a motion for approval of the minutes as provided.
I move that we approve the minutes as
All right, motion been properly made. Is there a second? All right, motion been properly made and seconded. Is there any other conversation or discussion? Being none, all those in favor of the motion manifest by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed will do likewise. Motion carries. And please enter your vote in the system as well. For myself, I guess I would have abstain for everything, so, okay. All right, so at this time, I would like to entertain a motion to remove from the table under old business, item 20-292.
I'll make a motion to remove from the table item 20-292.
All right, motion been properly made. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, motion been properly made and seconded. Are there any questions or comments to the motion? Being none, all those in favor of the motion manifest by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All those against that will do likewise. All right, motion carries, and please vote in the system. Thank you. All right, so again, we're tabling from our last meeting from July 7th, 2020, and tonight we're holding a public hearing to consider a request for a change in zoning from Planned Unit Development District to amend the special stipulations of zoning to amend the density requirement and minimum foot square requirements for 43.5 acres on Riverside Parkway and land lot 162, District 1, Section 5, parcels 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29, 20 and 29, 1 and 2. Applications by AHS Residential LLC via Julia Sellers and Dilliard Sellers LLC. At this time, we'll have the Community Development Director, Patrice Williams, come up and give some opening remarks.
Chairman, to decrease the amount of contact at the podium, I'll be presenting at my desk tonight.
Okay, thank you, so noted.
The applicant, AHS Residential, is requesting a change in zoning from Planned Unit Development District to amend the special stipulations of zoning of the Design Concept Development Ordinance with a proposed density rate of 10 units per acre and minimum unit size of 550 square feet to develop a mixed-use development consisting of 420 multifamily units, 17 residential lots, office space, and retail. The PUD is to encourage the best possible plan sites and building arrangements under a unified plan of development, rather than under a lot-by-lot regulation. A PUD must contain at least two types of land use that are not otherwise allowed together in another zoning district or two types of residential density. The property is located within the DCD zoning concept plan for New Manchester, known as Village Center DCD, with a base zoning of CG. A design concept development district is required to include at least two types of residential density in order to promote unique situations to land development issues. A DCD is intended to be a relatively large-scale project on a site of 10 or more acres. Any concept plan or original plan approved under the DCD possessed at the time of adoption of the adoption of the UDO shall be considered approved under the PUD process of the UDO. The applicant proposes a development to reactivate the existing retail space currently vacant, preserve additional retail and commercial opportunities, create additional passive and active green spaces, and develop 420 new attached residential units and 17 residential lofts, along with community amenities, including a pool, fitness center, and clubhouse. The proposed development has frontage along Riverside Parkway and Market Street. Also, there are two ingress and egress points for the entire development. The applicant has submitted a request to modify the conditions for about approximately 43.50 acres from PUD, Planned Unit Development District, to Design Concept Development, DCD, with a rate density of 10 units per acre and minimum unit size of 550 square feet to develop a multifamily use development of 437 units. Out of 437 units, 17 will be lofts. The proposed development will include 1 and 2 bedroom apartments that would be 550 square feet and 810 square feet, respectively. The applicant seeks to modify the minimum square footage in the DCD ordinance from 600 square feet to 550 square feet, and to increase the maximum density rate in the ordinance from 6 units per acre to 10 units per acre. The multifamily residential and retail uses are authorized under the zoning, and this zoning proposal seeks approval of two conditions of the existing DCD zoning regulations: 1, minimum unit size, and 2, density. The future land use designation for the area is mixed-use design. The purpose of the mixed-use design concept is to encourage the best possible site plan and building arrangements under a unified plan of development. The applicant's proposed density rate of 10 units per acre is less than the recently approved development on Riverside Parkway of 11 units per acre zone PRD. The proposed 10 units per acre density rate is reasonable and a suitable use of the subject property and is consistent with similar zoning districts in the UDO and in the area. Additionally, Avalon Lee Tributary was developed 10 years ago with a density of 11 units per acre. The proposed reduction of 50 square feet in the 600 minimum unit size will have a negligible impact because of the modern design of the proposed units. As previously stated, the applicant is proposing a minimum unit of 550 square feet. The proposed change in the current special stipulations of the zoning of the subject property will have a positive impact on the local community by providing a quality development and providing for the city's first Class 1A development. The proposed change in the maximum allowable density for the current rate of 6 units per acre to 10 units per acre is practical. That concludes my presentation.
Great. Are there any questions or comments to staff? All right, well, at the time, is the applicant here? If you could please come up, give us your name and address, and give us an overview again of the proposed development, as well as what has changed and what has occurred since July 7th.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. I am Julie Sellers, 1776 Peachtree Street Northwest, Suite 390 in Atlanta, Georgia, here on behalf of the applicant, AHS Residential. AHS Residential is based in Florida, and Juan Fernandez is the representative from AHS. I'll touch on some things that have transpired since we were before you last month. Mr. Fernandez, being in Florida with COVID, company restrictions on being able to fly, he would have to self-quarantine for 2 weeks. He did drive up to meet with the residents. He is watching live stream, and my associate Baxter Russell is in real-time communication. So if there's a detail that we need from Mr. Fernandez, he is here and apologizes to not be able to be here in person. I do also have with me Robert Kelly, who's been working with AHS. Mr. Kelly's working on the retail leasing interest. Alex Hensley is the engineer with Kinley Horn, who has worked on this development project since the beginning, and also architect Eric Brock with Brock and Hudgens, who is a Atlanta-based architectural firm. Just to give you a brief recap of what we have done, and then I'm going to ask Patrice. We have a short video that we were able to put together to show the changes, and then I've got a PowerPoint presentation. I know that we also have members from the community that are here to speak in favor of this application. I have 7 letters of support in addition to the folks that are here to speak in support of this with me that I'll go ahead and tender into the record, and these are from Douglasville residents in support. Patrice, do we have the video or just the PowerPoint?
PowerPoint.
Okay, all right. If we're able, if the IT folks are able to pull up the video, and if not, then we're not going to. Okay, all right. My apologies. We won't have the video for you, but it is available online, and I think really does give a pretty dynamic description of the change that this development will have. Just to briefly recap, and as I go through the PowerPoint presentation, you'll see some of the images of what this is going to be. And really what we are here seeking your recommendation of support for is to continue the community that was begun with the tributary community many years ago. As we all know, not all of it came to fruition in the manner and the scope of which was intended, but we are excited and think that we can bring this next pivotal phase to reactivate the retail and commercial center, as well as add some additional housing that would be a different type of housing than is available anywhere in the city and would be in keeping with the high quality that the tributary residents enjoy with their homes currently. The application before you, I think I may have mentioned this previously, Douglasville doesn't have what you might consider a change in conditions. Some jurisdictions have, if you have some zoning conditions and you just want to change a few of those conditions, it's still all technically under the zoning umbrella, but it's not a rezoning. So I do think that it's important here because as we're talking about the mixture of uses, we have the residential in the form of the apartments, as well as the retail and office space. Apartments, just to be clear, are authorized on this property. So the two discrete issues before the Planning Commission are the requests to change the minimum unit size from 600 to 550, and I'll talk to you a little bit about why that makes sense and why we're seeing that with a lot of the newer apartment buildings, as well as a clarification on the density, how many units per acre. And there's been some confusion. We've gone back and forth with different interpretations and think that it's best just to let City Council bless it so that everybody's on the same page. This is showing just sort of visually, if you can see on the right hand of the screen, that is the existing retail building that is there. So the plan is to maintain that building, reactivate it with commercial leases, have office space as well as some loft space on the second floor. And one of, I think, the big changes that you will see is on the left-hand side. This is what we're referring to as Phase 2 commercial. AHS, and I'll go ahead and talk about why we believe AHS is the right community partner for the tributary community. AHS, just to give a little bit of background, they are based in Florida, and I think it's important to recognize they were recognized as the Real Estate Developer of the Year, presented that award by the Florida Governor Scott. They've been awarded Top Commercial Real Estate Developer. Their apartments were awarded the Product of the Year by the Builders Association of South Florida. They do quality work. They are a company that develops, they build, and they manage. Frequently, you see companies that come in, they build an apartment community, they lease it up, and then they sell it to someone else. That's not what AHS does. They are in this and in this for the community partnership, which is significant, I think, when you're looking at someone coming in to really reactivate this area. You want to know that you've got a quality partner. They're also in a growth mode, and they are expanding into more mixed use. I grew up in Florida. I practiced down in West Palm Beach. I had my first taste of zoning on the island of Palm Beach, and talk about some restrictive land uses. It was a difficult place, and you can imagine there was a lot of wealth and a lot of interesting land use issues down there. AHS spent 2 years negotiating with the town of Palm Beach to do a 50-year long-term lease with property that the town of Palm Beach owns for AHS to develop with apartments and commercial frontage. To me, that's significant. It was not an easy process, and it was very well vetted. They've also got some other mixed-use projects that they have acquired and are rebranding, so this is definitely the growth model that AHS is interested in, and they're excited about Tributary Village. We have been seeking retail and commercial users. Mr. Kelly is here tonight. He has been here pretty much for the last 2 weeks. He has had multiple meetings. There is a lot of interest in people opening businesses at Tributary. We had great conversations with the community to say, typically in a situation like this, you would want to wait until after you build the apartments and then get folks in the commercial space, just from a safety and construction ease standpoint. But to, again, partner with the community, there's a willingness to go ahead and get people in the space with really great incentives, reasonable retail rates. So that is something that I think has been, we've certainly had a lot of traction. We're excited about the interest here. And then the Phase 2 guarantee. AHS is willing to guarantee that it will build that Phase 2 commercial space, which is an additional 5,000 square feet of retail. And we'll show you some more photos as we go through this. This is giving you sort of the bird's eye view. You can see that we are really concentrating the commercial on the main entrance with the existing building there on your right. Then we've got the Phase 2 building with another green space plaza that would be adjacent to that. Hopefully we'll end up having a build-to-suit restaurant or some sort of tenant that would come in. You can see the clubhouse and pool amenity that would be for the apartment residents, as well as the landscape buffering on the left-hand side. One of the original changes that took place was originally the space along Riverside had been slated for the multifamily use, and that was converted to the commercial use. These are just some of the renderings just to give the sense of place and community that would be achieved by this development. And now I'm going to start talking about the actual request that we have pending before you. As to the first request, it's 50 square feet. That's what we're asking for, is a reduction in 50 square feet. And I hope that you can see on these floor plans, I don't know about you, but when I was in college living in an apartment, it certainly wasn't a modern apartment. It was older apartments that were set up for sharing as a young adult and as even a middle-aged adult living in apartments. One of the things with AHS is they make a very efficient use of the space. And I think what you'll notice on these floor plans is you don't have the interior hallways in the unit. So you can really, it's a very open feel and you don't have that wasted space. Again, this is just some of their actual bedrooms that have been outfitted and decorated. It really does feel, it doesn't feel like you're smushed into a small space. So these are just to go ahead and show some additional options. Again, a child's bedroom, plenty of storage, just to give an idea. This is, a quality product. One of the things that I do want to talk about is the fact that the construction, again, is this Class 1A concrete construction. And the way they achieve that is with a very, again, efficient use of a construction system. With the Class 1A, it's concrete, so you have less noise flow in between units as far as a durability standpoint, fire safety, all of that. It is a upgraded, it would be the first Class 1A construction in the city of Douglasville. And these buildings also have elevators. The other apartments that have been constructed, or to my knowledge that are in the pipeline along Riverside Parkway, do not have elevators. Anytime you have an elevator in a building, it does just kind of elevate the sense of place there. You're not having to just walk up. You do have the ability to easily get up to the top units. Going ahead and switching over to the density, again, I'm trying to run through this, but I want to be thorough because I want to let the residents speak in favor. Again, the total, I think, is we've got 43.5 acres of property here. And I think that it's really important to make sure that everyone on the commission understands last year there was an approval of 300 units. Those 300 units are not moving forward. That 300 unit is included within the 420 that we're seeking your approval of. And I think that that's really important. I don't want anyone to think, oh my goodness, we're going to end up with 720. That's not the case. So just wanted to make sure we make that clear. Again, as Patrice said, the density is 10 units an acre. That's less than what's already been built. It's less than what has been recently approved. Want to touch briefly on the fact that these are only 1 and 2 bedroom units. We have no 3 bedroom units, and I know that we've had some conversations about the impact on school. So both AHS pulled their data from their other properties to just get a better sense of how many kids do we actually have living. And so in the 1 bedroom, 1 bath units, out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, make sure I can count okay. Out of 6 units, there were out of 6 communities, there were a total of 5 units that had a child living in a 1 bedroom. Again, with the 2 bedroom, 2 bath, that number went up a little bit more. That ended up being 181, and that was across 6 different communities. So just remembering the school board uses a blanket 1.3 per number of units without any consideration to the number of bedrooms. We also have an economic benefits analysis that was prepared by Kimley Horn that also looked at what the National Association of Home Builders, their report that addresses potential impacts on schools and the generation of school-aged children. And in this, we believe, and I should know, and I'm gonna get the exact number for you, 55 school-aged children is what this impact analysis is indicated that they think would maybe be generated. So that is certainly a far cry from the 547 that was, again, just taken as looking at the number of units without account for the number of bedrooms. This just also gives you a sense, this was the architecture. It's a mixture of materials. Eric Brock, again, the architect, is here. It's not technically part of the application before you, but certainly if there are questions about any of this, we're here and happy to answer those. We are having additional meetings to talk about the architecture. We know that you're never going to get consensus among 100% of people as far as the architecture. This is a different look and feel, which I think was much more well received. We had, a lot of positive feedback on this look and feel. This, again, just kind of gives you the vantage point from that plaza area that would be adjacent to the Phase 2 commercial. And again, just kind of showing how this cohesively really does bring a new community feel to this area. We had a small working group that we met with and had some great discussions, got a lot of good feedback. We then had a large Zoom meeting last week with residents and had, I think, really positive feedback. That's what has resulted in, I think, some of the folks that are here and some of the folks that have sent in letters of support. I think people are excited about this bringing a revitalized retail center and recognizing that for retail to thrive, having people in close proximity is really a driving factor, and that AHS does build, design, and deliver and manage a quality product that I think that we certainly know that was well received by residents. So with that, if I could maybe save the time to let some of the residents that are here speak, and obviously happy to answer any questions that you all might have.
Okay, go ahead and ask questions right at this time. So any questions?
I have a question, Ms. Sellers. What's the demographic that you're targeting for 1 and 2 bedroom apartments?
So the demographic is really, your professionals, and it ranges from, I'd say, your professionals to, quite frankly, seniors. This is not an age-restricted community, don't get me wrong, but I think when you have an area such as Douglasville, the location is great. You've got, folks that live in Tributary with the buildings having the elevators. We find that makes it more conducive to having a mixture of age ranges. I mean, the reality is, a lot of times, if you're looking at senior folks, they're not necessarily wanting to do a walk up to a 3rd floor apartment. So the elevator is certainly an asset that I think helps with the mixture. And these are market rate apartments. This is not low income housing. This is not tax credit housing. This is market rate apartments.
All right, question. If I'm looking at the drawing and the rendering here, there's the larger unit that faces Riverside. I was just curious as far as the parking for that one. Where would that parking be? Because it looks like the parking is away from it. I didn't see any immediate parking for that particular structure, and didn't know if there was any underground parking, or is it all above street
That's
parking?
correct. It is all above the street. The parking, there is parking along Market Street, is the street that sort of runs parallel, I guess, to Riverside. And I don't know if you probably can't see if I show on that, can you? I don't know if it shows there. But this is the multifamily building here, so parking would be along in here, but then there's also, this parking in here, as well as over here, all for the resident parking.
Okay. So I guess my question is, like, if we're marketing this for seniors, will we want seniors to walk that far?
So I want to be clear. I don't want to be misinterpreted that it's going to be, it would be a market rate apartment not targeted for a particular age range, but we anticipate probably more working professionals as opposed to more retirees is the expectation. You never know, but it's not specifically targeted for seniors. I do think that given the variety of the buildings, if you look, for example, over here, those two buildings, certainly, admittedly, there's more parking in closer proximity, as well as the grouping here of those three buildings. So I think it would probably be a unit selection preference, depending on the needs of the resident.
Questions? All right. So at this time, is there anyone that would like to come forth and speak in favor of this particular application? If you could please come forth, introduce yourself, and give us your name.
Conrad Kiffin, 3214 Ancoat Street, Douglasville, Georgia 30135. I'm here to say that I'm in favor of the application. I think it's everything that we've been coming here for the last few months. We've been in opposition to a lot of things as a community from tributary and surrounding communities. We've been against warehouses, more trucks, lack of, more residential development, and frankly, we don't have any retail. I think this plan speaks to the proposition that was the original tributary. I only moved in there less than a year ago, love the community, and I know that it needs this little bit of an extra push to get it going in the right direction. It's a great moment to make it happen. They're looking at doing some higher quality retail. They're open to suggestion, and they've been working pretty aggressively with the communities to find out what we would like to have and how we would like to envision it, which is pretty awesome. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Questions? All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to come forth and speak in favor of this application? If you could please come forth, give us your name and address, and tell us why you're in favor.
Yes, my name is Whitney Kennard Jones, 3211 Ancoat Street, Douglasville, Georgia, 30135. And I just wanted to briefly say that I do hope that you push this forward with your approval. I've lived in Douglasville off and on since 2007. I remember when the retail center was active and they had Oz Pizza there, the benefit to the community, the overall feel of the environment and having that retail in the neighborhood is the reason why I purchased a home in Tributary. I'm extremely impressed by AHS's commitment to working with community members to make sure that they have identified higher end retail, which is what we've been requesting and asking for. They've made a commitment to do that. I do want to agree with the applicant that the 50 square feet is negligible. I have lived in several luxury apartments. The design, the layout, the feel that they have promoted is spot on with what young working professionals are looking for. I think that's going to draw massive income to the area. And I also feel like it fits with the overall design of what Tributary was meant to be. It was marketed as a community that was going to be multi-generational. I think that the upscale nature of the apartments gets people into the habit of maintaining their property in a nice and orderly fashion. It promotes longevity, and it hopefully will trickle people into staying into Douglasville, coming here, renting an apartment while you can afford to live in an apartment, while you're trying to develop what your family structure is going to look like, and then branching out into the community as a whole and purchasing your first home and then your forever home. And I think that's exactly what AHS's design is going to do. So I do ask that you vote in favor of this project. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone that would like to come and speak in favor? Please come down, give us your name and address, please, and why you're in favor of this particular application.
Philip Sisk, 9905 Ardwick Greenway in Tributary, Douglasville. I always hate to follow Whitney. She's so articulate, but I would say that I support this proposal. AHS has met with us, and I feel they will work to make this a positive experience for their apartment residents as well as Tributary residents. Of course, if you ask all the residents of Tributary about the architectural design, you'd probably get a myriad of answers. I don't think you'd be able to please everyone. We originally wanted to have retail on the bottom of the buildings, on the ground floor, like you see in other areas like Smyrna Village and West Village. But Juan convinced me that right now they didn't feel like they could fill it up, and the worst thing for retail is to have empty storefronts. Although I think they're underestimating the amount of retail space that we will fill up, because I believe that the retail is going to benefit not only Tributary, but also people in other areas of Fairburn Road, because there is no retail up and down Fairburn Road all the way to Douglasville. It'll also support other residents along Riverside Parkway, and it will also support people in South Cobb, because there's no retail until you get to West Village in South Cobb. So I think we'll see an influx of a lot of people who will come here if we open up the retail center. And of course, there were a lot of complaints about the fact that it's going to be 5 stories tall. We were hoping only 4 stories, but I think we can live with that since it's on a grade below the roadway. So I do come asking that this proposal is okay. Thanks for your time.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of this application? Please come forth. If you give us your name and address and why you're in favor of this particular petition.
Charles Davis, 3209 Ancoat Street, Douglasville, Georgia. I am in favor of the petition. I've been a resident of the community for 5 years now, and I do remember when Oz Pizza was there. That was actually one of the reasons we moved into the community, was to have an opportunity to walk to retail storefronts without having to get into your car and commute. Prior to moving into the community, we looked in Cobb, we looked in other areas, but we really enjoyed the feel of the community. We understand that the original vision may not come to fruition. We can't control that. We understand that we all have to be flexible, and in order to progress, we're going to have to make some sacrifices. So I thank you all for the work that you've done. I know we've come in opposition of other things, but we are passionate about this area, and we do think that the growth that we're going to see will benefit not just this area, but Douglasville as a whole. So I hope that you do agree to move this forward and see where this corridor can go. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience would like to speak in favor of this application? All right, likewise, anyone that would like to speak other than in favor of this application, please come forth at this time. Anyone that would like to speak other than in favor? All right, are there any other questions or comments from the board? All right, well, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion from item 20-292.
I'll make a motion to approve item 20-292.
Motion been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion been properly made and seconded. Is there any further conversation, discussions, or questions? Being none, all those in favor of the motion, vote by the manifest, the sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed will do likewise. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. At this time, we will ask for those team members or those residents or applicants, if you could please disperse quietly while we bring in the applicants for our next case. And as we transition over to new business, first case for new business is to hold a public hearing and to consider a request for a special land use permit for a family child care learning home on property zone R3, which is single-family residential detached district, being approximately 0.23 acres at 8566 Braylon Manor Drive, land lot 163, District 2, Section 5A, Parcel 104. The application is by Larry Smith and Kaya Davis. At this time, we will have opening comments from our Community Development Director, and hopefully the applicant is in the back transitioning.
They're on the way in.
Okay, thank you.
Sitting does not work for me, so.
Okay.
And Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. The applicant proposes a family child care learning home within an existing residential neighborhood. The applicant requests to care for no more than 6 children at a time and for the hours of operation from 5 a.m. to 12 p.m. I'm sorry, that should be 5 a.m. to 12 a.m. The proposed daycare will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, or general welfare. A family care learning home is a permitted use within the R3 district with a SLUP. The proposed daycare will develop within an existing residential community. The scale and scope of the proposed family child care learning home will be nominal, thus resulting in a minimum impact on the existing community. City staff has determined that the scale and scope of the proposed project will have a minimum impact on the character of the existing community. The proposed use will not have a noticeable impact on surrounding tenants nor the surrounding property due to the small scale of the proposed family child care learning home. The proposed project will not involve high traffic volume and will have a marginal impact on the existing transportation network. The proposed use is allowable in an R3 district with an approved SLUP. If approved, staff recommends the following. The child care learning home is restricted to 6 students or less enrolled at any time on the subject property. There is a limit of 3 cars that can be parked at the subject property at any time. Hours of operation are from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. A SLUP must be reviewed administratively by staff 1 year after approval and be reported to the Planning Commission.
All right. So just a quick question. I know we've heard the couple or in the application as far as the requested time for operations was in the application. I thought it said 5 a.m. to 12 p.m. So I just wanted to just make sure we're clear on the time of operations.
It should be,
That was the proposed time from the applicant.
Okay, so
That's what the applicant proposed, but
Okay.
we put conditions on that time.
Okay,
Staff
so,
recommended conditions.
so it is 5 a.m. to 12 p.m. according to Ryan in
12
the
p.m.
application.
Okay.
That's what the applicant proposed.
That's what the applicant requested.
Yes.
As part of the staff recommendation is from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yes,
Right,
Right.
that's
okay.
correct. She said it correctly, yes.
Okay. Okay, so I guess I just want to make sure that the applicant, I just want to hear more about what is the time that they're looking to have the students and the age range of the students themselves. So,
Right.
any questions to Community Development Director?
So it's 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. now?
So it'll be it's 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. now.
So
is the
it should be
request,
in your
or
staff
for
report.
the staff recommendation.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to hear from the applicant to see if they're on board with that as far as the time they had in the application versus what's being recommended.
Recommended by staff. Exactly.
association that would prevent any sort of business to do that.
So I can't speak to the HOA, but code, we don't have a time limit as it relates to daycares. So she can change her time as she pleases, but I can't speak to the HOA and what their requirements are.
Thank you. All right, at the time, the applicant can please come forth and introduce yourself if you give us your name and your address and your intention for the daycare.
Good afternoon. My name is Kia Davis. I stay at 8566 Braylon Manor Drive, Douglasville, Georgia, 30134.
All right, if you can give us some details on your plans for the property.
Okay, I have something that I wrote. Well, the details as far as the time was concerned, my request was from 5 a.m. to 12 p.m. 12 a.m. The reason being is because when you open up the home daycare system center, I don't want to have to go through the process of right from the start. So if you set a date and a time as far as you doing the application now, they're requesting that you put in what you would like to have as far as the daycare hours. If the state is requesting that it's 6 to 6, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But yeah. So I wrote something. I said, good evening, panel members. I was asked to speak at least 20 minutes as to why I would like to provide a home child care service. And to be honest, I don't think it would take me about 20 minutes to give an explanation as to why I would like to become a child care provider. But then again, I may. My answer is simple. I'm a woman who has a vision, dreams, and goals. Respectfully, for those of us in this room that believe in the word tells us everything starts with a vision, and those visions that we have are not by any accident. Your visions become dreams, and once the two come together, you apply actions and goals. The Lord said if you take one step, then he will take two. I'm in the process of taking the proper necessary steps to become one of my visions. I am also working to build a legacy for my children and offspring. So this is why I stand before you and the others who have come to either support or to support my vision and dream, or to speak against my vision and dream. But my question to the people who have come to speak against the vision and dreams is this: if God has put a vision in me, and why would anyone speak against that? I am a woman who deserves to freely put what God put in me into action. If I desire to take a positive thing for not only myself, but for others who need service, why is that a harm? Why is that harm in that? I am not hurting anyone, nor will I. My property will not change. It will stay the same. There is no harm in wanting to make a dream or vision come to pass as long as it is the right thing to do. I will be providing this service for young children, which is not only the right thing to do for the child, but it also helps the parents who need the security, the calmness, and the peace of mind when they do go to work, knowing that their child is in a safe place. My home has been equipped with security cameras around the perimeter at my home, with a safety panel on the outside that has a different feature in case of an emergency occurs. I also have the ability to speak through an intercom service to someone standing outside the perimeters. My Bishop, Dale Bronner, taught not only myself, but the congregation that in any dream or vision you have, just make sure that your dream is not just about you, but is also about servicing others in your community. He encourages the congregation to be a part of a ministry to help service, but to not join just any type of ministry, but to pray about it first and to wait to hear from the Lord and let him lead you. Then put your search into action and start the process of joining or serving. However, for security purpose, the church and the others, there is a process that you have to go through if you take the interest in any type of the ministries at church. Each process is different depending on what ministry you desire to be a part of. One of the 3 ministries that I have been led to apply for is the children's ministry. You have to fill out an application first, and then you have to have a fingerprint and background check. And also, you have to have an interview with the staff, and you have to pass an interview process. Once that has been completed, you have to be shadowed 3 times in the process before they give you their final observation and to give you the okay that it is okay that particular ministry, for that particular ministry. And then if you pass, they will give you a slip that allows you to get a staff shirt that certifies you to work with the church. Well, I have my staff shirt, and I'm now currently a proud member of the children's ministry at Word of Faith, and I have the opportunity to work with children of all ages, and I love it. If the church certified me to work with children because they saw my passion, why would I not extend my services to the community? I also previously worked for one of the most popular children's child care services, which all of you may know as Kids Academy, for almost 2 years in the Alpharetta area. And I worked closely with the other teachers, staff, children of all ages, and I built very close relationships and bonds with a lot of the parents of the children who attended this facility. So I say this to the community. It would be my honor and pleasure to offer my services with open arms. I am a wife, a mother of 3 grown children, and a grandmother, which I love them all very much. But I have more love to share with others. I love to have children. The love that I have for children was not only meant for just my children and grandson, but it's also to share the love with other children also. My children have relied on me all of their lives. Why not allow other children to rely on me as well? They are innocent and depend on others to teach them in the right way of life. Why can I not be someone the child can depend on as well as their parents? I can be. My grandparents told me when I was a child, in anything that you do, make sure you be the best at it. And I have followed that rule and applied it to everything that I do in life. I will be one of the best home care child care providers, and my home child care services will be geared towards children's 0 weeks to 1 year old. I will operate off of a certified curriculum for the age group based off of Bright from the Start. I will also be focusing on the 5 areas of development. The first one would be the cognitive development, which means that the children's ability to learn and solve problems. The social and emotional development, which would be the second one. That means that the children will learn how to interact with others, including helping themselves and have self-control, waving, smiling, and sharing with other children, etc. The third would be the speech and language development, which means to both understand the use of language. And the fourth one is the fine motor skills development, which means being able to use small muscles. The fifth is the gross motor development skills, which means the children's ability to use large muscles as they develop, such as sitting up, crawl, pull up, stand, and eating methods. I will also use other programs to refer to as well, such as the National Association for Education of Young Children. It is the governing body of the U.S. who defines the gold standard for early childhood education and care, and it is accredited and recognized by the U.S. as the indicator of high quality of education for children. I've been working very hard on building my vision and dreams since last year, and I completed and received most of my certifications that are required by the state to become a child care provider. The Bible says that a man without a vision and dream will perish. I do not plan on perishing, but living my dream, my vision and dream, and accompanying one of my many goals in life. What God has for me will be for me, and I do declare, decree, and believe that I've already received it. This home child care, I do believe, will be mine, and I will be the provider for children as well as the parents. I have been positioned for purpose.
All right, thank you for that overview and presentation. Yes, the first question, you kind of alluded to it a little bit in your overview, is what are your neighbors? Have you talked to your neighbors? What feedback have you received from your neighbors?
Yes, they said that they're all fine with it. Some of them said that they would be here. I don't see anybody, but they said that they may not be able to make it due to work, but they're fine with it.
And just an observation, I got a chance to go and take a look at the street there, and I know that times there traffic can move at a pretty quick rate, where cars are zooming down the street, and I'm just, just thinking through if you're having drop-offs and pickups, will the cars come into your driveway? Will
Yes.
they park on the street?
My
And
plan
then-
is to do the driveway.
Okay, so they would pull up in the driveway as compared to parking on the street and going through this
Right.
circle and coming back down?
Exactly.
Okay. I guess the other thing, just looking at the property itself and it slopes down, is there any concern or will children be allowed outside? I know that we're saying 0 to 1 years of age, but will they be going outside and having any outside activities?
Yes, but past the zone, I am planning on doing like a block off there in the back front of the patio, so there's no activity past that drop.
Okay, so it'll be closed in?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yes, sir.
Other questions? Yes.
How
Hello.
many people will you have working with you to take care of these 6 children?
Well, my daughter, she will be 1, and then I'm looking for my youngest daughter as well, but just 1. They said the ratio would be 1 to 3 or 2 to 6. So I'm looking for, I haven't actually started the hiring process yet, but I just wanted to get everything in motion. But if I start off and I have 3, I have to have at least 1. But if I do get the 6, it has to be an additional person.
I have a question, please. So I do want to clarify that it is 0 to 1, so there'll be no after-school drop-offs.
No, ma'am.
And do you have a HOA in your neighborhood?
Yes.
Does your HOA allow this for a business to be run out of the house?
I'm not sure about that. My husband owns the property, so I'm not sure about I don't know all the details about the HOA as far as that's concerned, but it was posted on the neighborhood app, and I haven't seen anything where they said anything about it.
Another question, I know you mentioned about your children, your daughters. Are they also have the background or similar background in education and working with this age range?
Yes. Yes, they do. My oldest daughter, she has a son that's 5.
Okay. But
And
as
she's
far-
also did the community service with me at Kids Are Kids, where they can come in and volunteer. So yeah, they have worked in that too.
Okay. So they have that similar background teaching and working with children in the 0 to 1 year old range there?
All of them have.
Okay.
They volunteered with me at Kids Are Kids.
All right.
You get paid for keeping these children?
Yes, I will be.
Other questions from the board? All right, is there anyone here in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this application? Please come forth and give us your name and address.
Good afternoon, board. My name is Larry Smith. Miss Kia Monique Davis, that's my wife. I won't stand before you long. I just want to say that I stand in full support of what she's trying to do, and just to share that I'm proud of her, to the point where I'm encouraged by her to want to seek forth, obtain her own business, things of that nature, things that I would like to do. So I'm really learning from her. I'm intrigued with her persistence, her consistency, and her dedication to even stand before you and speak. So, yep, that's about all I have to say right now, that I'm in full support of.
Okay, and you do live at the same address?
Sure.
Okay, I just want to make sure we have it on record.
566 Braylon Manor.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Just a quick question to staff. Have we have any history or any documentation of any code violations or any issues with public safety?
We do not have anything like that.
Okay, thank you. All right, again, if there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this application, if you could please come forth and give us your name and address and why you're in favor of the application.
Good evening, Board. I'm Dr. Kiki Williams. I reside at 6885 Old National Highway, College Park. I'm a state-approved trainer with Right From the Start, and I'm here to support Ms. Kia Davis-Smith because I have seen her in several of my classes getting certified, and I've been a trainer just under 20 years. And the quality of work that she has provided in terms of how she will work with the children and her thought process and her research, it was stellar. So I was happy to be here to help her to be in favor of her opening a center or in-home childcare.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this application, please come forth at this time. All right, likewise, is there anyone like to speak other than in favor of this application? If you could please come forth and give us your name and address. Anyone that would like to speak other than in favor of this application? Well, let me ask Ms. Key, I know that you indicated you have talked to several of your residents or several of your neighbors. If you can maybe give us an idea of which neighbors that you reached out to and what was some of the feedback that you heard?
Well, my neighbor to the left, he said he didn't have a problem. Him and his wife, they said that they would try to make it today, but they would be, one is a airline stewardess, so that's probably where she's at. The young man said he didn't have a problem with it at all. The other lady that lived 2 doors down to the left, she also stated that she was in home child care for over 12 years and wished me luck to it. And the other ones didn't seem to matter or care at all either when I asked them about it.
Any other questions to the applicant? All right. Well, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion for item 20-329.
I'll make a motion to approve item 20-329 with the following stipulations: that it be operated from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., that the children that will be cared for will be 0 to 1 year of age, and that there is no opposition with the Homeowners Association covenants.
Motion been made. Is there a second to the motion?
The children will be limited to 1 year of age?
Yes, 0 to 1, yeah. And you said no more than 6?
No more than 6.
Okay. All right, motion
I
been,
said that.
all right, motion been made. Is there a second to the motion?
I second.
All right, motion been properly made and seconded. I guess the only thing I would ask is, how would we, or what is the form that we would get feedback to say that the HOA has reviewed it and didn't have any issues with it? What would that look like?
We could provide it at the council meeting, but it's not a requirement as far as our process here. But we could ask the applicant to provide it to us.
Okay.
Come back in a year and renew this special use land permit.
So it was not stipulated in the approval or in the motion that it would be just for 1 year.
Or is for just 1 year?
It was not stated. So.
Come back, Patrice, and update that special land use permit.
Yes, sir, it will expire in a year.
Okay, okay. All right, thank you. All right, any other comments or questions on the motion with the stipulations? All right, being none, all those in favor of motion manifest by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed will do likewise. Motion carried with the stipulations. Thank you, and please vote in the system as well. All right, thank you. All right, at the next item on the agenda is going to be item 20-309, and we ask that the applicants please make their way in. And it's to hold a public hearing to consider a request for a change in zoning from General Commercial District to Planned Residential Development District for 6.312 acres on Stewart Parkway and Land Lot 130, District 2, Section 5, Parcel 90. Applications by the National Church Residencies, in care of Catherine Zickert. At this time, we'll have the Community Development Director, Patrice Wiggins, give us opening comments from the staff.
Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. The applicant, National Church Residence, is requesting to rezone approximately 6.312 acres from general commercial to planned residential development. The future land use designation for the parcels located within the city of Douglasville is Community Activity Center. The property is currently undeveloped. National Church Residents plan to develop a 96-unit, age-restricted, 62 and over, 3-story apartment building. The project will include 1 residential building with surface parking. The amenities will include a fitness center, business center, an arts and crafts room, and multi-purpose space for socializing, a large community space with a full warming kitchen, on-site property manager and service coordinator, gathering space on each floor near elevator, and an outdoor gathering space. There will be 55 one-bedroom units and 41 two-bedroom units. The subject property is located along the southwestern quadrant of the intersection of Stewart Parkway and Douglas Boulevard. The city's UDO states that the intent of the PRD zone designation is to protect and promote a suitable environment for family life and to encourage flexibility in the meeting of the needs of families by providing high-density apartment dwellings with a minimum development site of 2 acres. The proposed development does propose a relatively high-density, 16.1 units per acre development. The proposal indicates 96 units on over 6 acres, introducing increased density that may complement the immediate area while providing senior living in close proximity to Arbor Place Mall and injecting additional residents with possible disposable income to support existing businesses located within the vicinity. The proposed project can possibly spur an increase in residential development near and around the target area and possibly serve as a financial stimulus for the Douglasville Town Shopping Center and the mall area and channel additional development on the vacant lots located south and west of the subject property. The proposed development furthers the intent of the comprehensive plan. However, the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive future plan land use designation for a community activity center, mainly because PRD is a recommended land use currently for the character area. The PRD zoning classification replaced the former R6 zoning classification in the most recent UDO update. It is envisioned that the next comprehensive plan update that this character area will include PRD as a recommended land use. The applicant's request does reasonably promote the public health, safety, and general welfare. Within a half-mile radius from the proposed site, residents will have access to 2 bus routes, 2 grocery stores, 2 churches, 4 banks, several restaurants, parks, library, a hospital, 2 hair salons, laundry center, post office, a dental center, a pharmacy, fitness center, and a park. Also, the tenant will be in close proximity to Arbor Place Mall. The proposed project introduces additional residents in close proximity of the mall area and nearby commercial corridors with the ability to provide support to the existing and future commercial businesses in the target area. According to an article that was posted February 9, 2020, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, has awarded more than $51 million in housing assistance to nonprofit organizations across the country to finance more affordable housing construction, provide rental assistance, and facilitate supportive service deliveries for low-income seniors. Two of the recipient communities are in Georgia. The National Church Residence was awarded $2,577,352 to construct 90 units here in the city of Douglasville.
Any questions to Ms. Williams? All right, at this time, we ask the applicant to please come forth. Excuse me. If you give us your name and address and intention of the property.
Thank you, Mr. Axon. Members of the Commission, I'm Kathy Zickert with Smith, Gambrell, and Russell. The address is 1230 Peachtree Street, Suite 3100. It's my honor to appear in front of you tonight on behalf of National Church Residences, and I'll explain a little bit about them in a moment, but I do want you to know that I have with me representatives of my client as well as the traffic engineer who did the traffic report that the city requested, and from our architecture firm, Alan Collins with Foley Design. So we do have people here to answer your questions in case I can't. Sometimes that does happen. National Church Residences has existed for over 55 years and specializes in the provision of affordable housing. It has more than 22,000 units nationally, and there are 1,347 of these units already in the metropolitan Atlanta area. That makes them the second housing provider only to the City of Atlanta Housing Authority. So they are a wide-scale provider. One of their more famous projects that you might be aware of is, if you all are familiar with the old Imperial Hotel site, when you're coming south on the connector, it's on your right shortly before you would get off at I-20, and that burned a number of years ago. But my client came together with Columbia Properties and converted that entire building into a residence for, again, affordable housing, and in doing so preserved a landmark in the city of Atlanta as well. So I think that's a commendable gesture that they have made, and one that has helped serve a public purpose. As usual, Patrice has done an awesome job of summarizing the nature of the project for you, and I don't want to repeat that. I do want to emphasize a couple of things, though, and one of that is that senior housing, as Patrice referenced, should be a priority for you in the city of Douglasville. The projected need in terms of number of units within the city is 29,478 additional senior units by 2040. And admittedly, that's a few years out, so you have time to get those units built. But it's indicative of what is happening in terms of an aging population, which at least until COVID-19 was tending to live longer and needs a different type of lifestyle, and often a less expensive type of lifestyle in order to live a productive life. Because we exceeded the threshold for your traffic study at 90 units, we did in fact do a thorough study. I wondered when all of this hit how we were going to get accurate traffic counts. And what we did, and what I think this is pretty amazing actually, is we went back and got traffic counts that we knew were accurate from 2013, and that we then increased them by a factor that is recognized by the Georgia Regional Transportation Authority over the next 7 years. So although our counts were low, we think that our numbers were correct because it assumed background growth that is likely to have occurred in the area. So we stuck with those numbers as opposed to the actual counts on the ground. And they revealed that there is no problem in terms of level of service at the intersection of Douglas and Stewart, and that is in either direction. They are a B and a C now, and they will remain a B and a C after our development. Because we are senior housing, we do not tend to generate a whole lot of vehicle trips. In fact, I think total in and out from this project in a daily period is only 361 trips. So we think that we will certainly not be doing anything that will make the traffic situation any worse. As you probably know, the Georgia Regional Transportation Authority considers it appropriate, if you have a development of regional impact, to design to a D level of service. We're already well above that now and intend to stay that way after this project is developed. We're also sensitive to the fact that the southern 2 acres of this site is environmentally sensitive. You have a lot of floodplain, you have wetlands, you have a lot of stream buffers, and we do not intend to touch it. In fact, if the city would like this as green space, we are perfectly prepared to donate it to them. It's something that Ms. Littlefield and I have discussed. We haven't reached any kind of resolution on it, and if the city doesn't want it, that's fine too, but I suspect what will end up happening is that we will dedicate it to maybe Friends of Sweetwater Creek or some other similar institution who can do the most with the property so that it will be maintained the way it is now. That, I think, pretty well summarizes our position. As I said, if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them, and if I can't, our consultants will, or our representatives will, and we would ask you to accept the staff recommendation and approve the project.
All right, thank you. Quick question, and I think you hit on it when you talked about the floodplain, and my question is, would that drive up insurance rates where that property is located, and if so, why?
No, which is one of the reasons we want to dedicate it to somebody. We don't want that on our property. We don't need that obligation, and it would not be a good thing for us to keep. So we actually have pending a subdivision application as well, which will subdivide that tract off of the main tract and won't affect us at all.
All right, other
And I
questions?
see the density on here is 15.2 209 per acre, is that correct?
That's what I calculated. Patrice said 16.1, and my math is not the best, so I'm perfectly willing to believe she was correct and I'm wrong. But it is in that general vicinity, which is within the character area's range of recommended densities.
Just out of curiosity, will there be any type of services or activities for seniors that will
Very
be
many
provided?
activities. Now, we are not assisted living, so we are not providing nursing support or oversight of daily living tasks or medication assistance, but we will have arts and crafts programs, we'll have a fitness program, we have a lot of social gatherings. One of the amenities that we have is a community kitchen, or what I'd call a communal space with a warming kitchen, so people can get together and actually serve food and the like within our premises. Outside, we have a very large screen porch. We have grills, we have trails, we have gardens that the people who live there can actually garden in. And we do have a full-time person on staff for both security and programmatic attempts. So yes, there will be programs. I don't know whether we're going to have a van or not. Do we customarily have a van? No. Okay. Probably won't start with one, but that's a possibility, I suspect, in the future.
And then how about security measures, if you can talk to us a little bit about what that looks like?
Yeah, I can't tell you exactly what they are. I can only tell you that it is a 24-hour type of security arrangement, and it is monitored.
And then is there a gate that you would go through, or is it, would you have to use a pass to get through a gate to come onto the site?
It's not a gated community. That's not something that we've been talked to about. We did meet with a number of people before we filed this application. I guess it's something we can consider, but we also, one of the things we were asked to do by, I believe it was Councilman Miller, is move this building up to the street so it would have a new urbanism feel, because it had been set back. And the point was they wanted to feel like the people that were living there could come out of their units and walk. And if you have a gate, that sometimes impedes that pedestrian connectivity.
Questions from the board? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to come and speak in favor of this application? Please come forth at this time and give us your name and address. Anyone that would like to speak in favor? Likewise, is there anyone that would like to speak other than in favor of this application? Please come forth at this time. Anyone that would like to speak other than in favor? All right. No other questions or comments from the board? I'd like to entertain a motion for item 20-309.
I'll make a motion for item 20-309 to be denied.
All right, motion has been made. Is there a second to the motion? All right, motion been made and properly seconded. Are there any other comments, discussions, or conversations at this time? All right, being none, all those in favor of the motion of denial, please manifest by the voting sign of aye.
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 All those opposed of the motion would do likewise. Vote by manifesting by the sign of aye.
Aye.
All right. So motion to deny has been approved. Thank you. And please vote through your machines. All right. At this time, the next item is item 20-334. And tonight, we're here to hold a public hearing and consider a request for a change in zoning from residential low-density district county to planned residential development district city for 15.59 acres on 501, 529, 549, 559 Reservoir Drive, land lot 24, District 1, Section 5, parcel 10, 11, 74, 76. Applications by Kenneth J. Wood, Planners and Engineers Collaborative, Inc. At this time, we'll have opening comments and staff recommendations from Community Development Director Patrice Williams.
Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. The applicant is requesting to rezone approximately 15.59 acres from single-family residential district to planned residential development. The future land use designation for the parcels located in unincorporated Douglas County is single-family residential. The applicant has submitted a concurrent request for a future land use amendment from single-family residential to regional activity center. The parcels are adjacent to regional activity center. The applicant is proposing a townhome development that consists of 99 front-loaded townhomes measuring 20 feet by 45 feet and 63 rear-loaded townhomes measuring 20 feet by 45 feet. The townhomes are proposed to be in 27 structures ranging from 4 townhomes to 8 townhomes per structure. The site plan also illustrates a leasing office, a club, a community garden, and an associated stormwater detention pond. Based on the site plan that was submitted with the application, there will be approximately 162 townhomes at approximately 10.24 units per acre. The site plan indicates a proposed pedestrian connection to Arbor Place Mall. The city's UDO states that the intent of the PRD zoning designation is to protect and promote a suitable environment for family life and to encourage flexibility in meeting the needs of families by providing high-density apartment dwellings with a minimum development site of 2 acres. The site plan shows 162 units on over 15 acres introducing increased density that may complement surrounding commercial development and act as a buffer between the commercial property and the R2 zoning adjacent to the property. The proposed townhome development would be an expansion of the Regional Activity Center character area, which encompasses a broad swath of land directly north of the development. The area is also located in the Quality Growth District overlay. The QGD overlay was established in order to promote high-quality developments in an area of the city that are largely undeveloped, but in the path of rapid or substantial development. The goal of the overlay is to protect investment values and the natural environment. Most of the regulations that are required by the QGD overlay would be addressed during the design, review, and permitting process. This includes specific landscaping and building design requirements for townhome developments. The proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan with the proposed future land use designation or regional activity center. Guidelines for this designation include residential development with open space and recreation on properties over 10 acres. The purpose of the Regional Activity Center is to provide an area that can support a high intensity of development that can serve a regional market. Typical land uses include varying densities for residential development. The property would satisfy the high intensity suggestion set forth by the Regional Activity Center. The applicant's request does reasonably promote the public health, safety, and general welfare. To the north of development, there are intense commercial uses, including Arbor Place Mall and the landing development, as well as the Douglasville Pavilion to the east. To the south of Chapel Hill and in the county are increased residential uses and lower densities. Townhomes would provide a transition between the marketplace and low-density residential. The development could be a potential catalyst for the area and could help promote Arbor Place Mall and the surrounding commercial areas. That's all.
Any questions or comments, staff? All right, thank you. Is the applicant here? If you could please come forth, give us your name and address and intentions of the developed property.
Great. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bob Kaufman with Hartley, Rowan Fowler, address 5303 Slater Mill Circle, Douglasville, Georgia. Allow me to introduce Mr. Brian Musoff and also Ken Wood, who the gentleman right over there. They're going to come up here in just a second. I'm going to be very brief. As you heard explained, the project involves the annexation and a rezoning of 15.82 acres. It's 4 separate tax parcels on Reservoir Drive. And on that property, as you heard, is to purposes to construct the townhomes in keeping with the site plan that's before you. The application's brought under the city's PRD zoning ordinance, and the necessary traffic study has been completed and submitted to the city. There were issues involving Reservoir Drive that arose during the annexation process, but those matters have been resolved with the adoption of an intergovernmental agreement between the city and the county. In connection with those discussions, that took place regarding Reservoir Drive. Mr. Musoff, on behalf of the applicant, has agreed there will be no access to Heritage Valley subdivision or through any of the streets in that development whatsoever. One thing I'd like to mention, I believe you should all have some information that was sent to you a few days ago regarding basically a PowerPoint with some various pictures. We updated it this morning by adding really two pages really, but one page is very instructive. It has how the county had zoned this property with a much more intense use. And I didn't know if I could hand these to you now. We sent them to the city this morning, but for some reason they didn't make it into your packet. Thank you so much. Should be enough right there. If not, we got a couple more. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Wood.
All right. If you could please come up, give us your name and address.
Kenneth Wood, 350 Research Court, Peachtree Corners, Georgia. Thank you for allowing us to take the time. So I want to walk you guys through kind of the project, especially since you have the packet. And so we tried to detail out exactly how we got to the idea of this. And the first thing to point out is the annexation. And so in there you'll see the city map. And really when you look at the project site, the first thing we noticed when we started on the project, the 15 acres, was that on all three sides is completely surrounded by the city. And then Reservoir Drive actually exits into the city. And so when we started talking about, you know, Douglas County versus City of Douglasville, it just made all the sense in the world that an annexation was appropriate with this, with its connection to the mall and what we're trying to do with the walkability to the mall and the promotion of the whole area of the commercial and the way townhomes and the livability can react. And so that's how the annexation started as we went through the process. So we submitted our plans. We had a May 19th meeting that was a Zoom meeting with the neighborhood. I wish it could be in person, but it was definitely a good meeting, and it was very informative. We had a couple of the council members that were able to attend. And so as we got into the project, we started looking at the land use and saw the regional activity and everything that was around us and looked at the potential for the site. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. Okay, thank you so much. And actually saw the potential for the site. Which way do I point it toward? Does it change over here or over? Oh, that's it. Thank you so much. So in looking at the aerial, you can see the proximity with Reservoir Drive coming in from the east. And the property is basically surrounded on the whole top of the property by the existing commercial, the mall up to the northwest, and then it has the existing residents around the side, and I'll go through the buffering and how we tried to carefully lay out the plan. Access from Reservoir, we really liked how Reservoir felt when you come in. You have the furniture store there and you turn in, and essentially there's only one resident on the street, and then you come directly into our project. A portion of Reservoir would be abandoned, and we'd run through that process with the city so that you would come in, and the first thing you would see would be our amenity center, our clubhouse with the pool and our green space, and I will walk you through that. And as you look at the project site, this is the regional activity that we were looking at and how that it's surrounded. And so the first idea that we were looking at was let's create a livable project here, being townhomes, that is walkable. You can easily walk to the mall. You can walk to the out parcels of the mall. You can very easily get up toward Chapel Hill. One thing I'll point out as we kind of dive deeper is there's a disconnect in one of the sidewalks that we want to make that connection, and now that it's city right-of-way, we're actually able to make that connection and be able to create that walkability that we're talking about. This is the survey of the site. As we get into the site, all the way back through the middle of it, the topography is fairly medium on the site. It's not too steep, and it's not extremely flat. There's a large stormwater management pond just to the north of us, and then you have a little bit of the pond that, little bit of the site that actually drains back to the south toward those residents. one thing we're planning on is taking great care of water on the site. We know that water intrusion with new developments is a huge issue for all surrounding neighbors. And so we plan on having a large stormwater facility that will actually take that water to the north, that combines the water with the water from the mall and those commercial out parcels, and that helps direct it away from the neighbors directly from the south that could be affected from that. So this was our original plan that we submitted along with the traffic study. And so the traffic study had the recommendations that the surrounding network of roadways and the way Reservoir Drive came out and the lights at Chapel Hill and the surrounding areas were sufficient for our development, especially that different trip times that everybody will have, whether people work remote or people have different job markets that they work in the area where they can walk to work, would be our hope for so many residents, or they have easy access to get back to the interstate to be able to go to their job markets to get to work. As I said, this was the original plan. As we came into the development, you have the clubhouse, the pool, and the large amenity area up at the front. And then as you just kind of circulated around the project, we wanted to make sure we had a project that was completely interconnected. We didn't have long dead ends that you see in so many of the developments. We have large green space at the end of those roads. And so the way we have the style of a lot of this project is that we have the townhomes facing green space. And so when you really kind of look in on it, I have kind of a pointer, but the townhomes actually face in on the amenity center. The townhomes face in on those central green courtyards and even on some of those other roads. And then we have some front-loaded townhomes that are around the perimeter. And the reason we did that is for buffering, and I can walk you through that and about how we approach that. And this is another look at that original plan that we slightly modified through the process. We actually had a conversation with the councilman about rear load versus front load. And so on our most current plans, we actually looked at increasing to where we're almost a balance of 80 and 82 rear versus front. And so what we've done, I can show you from the rendering. If you're looking at this rendering, do y'all actually see the same thing I am on the screen by chance? Oh, you do? Okay, perfect. So I'm looking at the latest rendering, and it shows as you come in on Reservoir Drive, the way we reoriented those townhomes on the left and right so that those are the front of the townhomes, because the way the property is kind of jagged in the front, that's a half-acre park area on the left and the right when you drive in, and so those townhomes would overlook that park area and front on that. So it was a great entry from us, and then you go right in between those homes, and then you come out into the clubhouse. We continued the walkability throughout the site, as I mentioned. And then one thing to point out is there's the furniture store that's up on the corner. And one thing when we walked the site, we were able to notice is there's about a 300-foot gap from the end of our property to the sidewalk on Arbor Place. And so once you're at Arbor Place, you have connectivity everywhere to almost every restaurant, every retail supplier in the entire area once you're at Arbor Place. And so what we are proposing is that is all public City of Douglasville right-of-way, is that we could make that connection up by the furniture store. It's flat. We would be able to make that connection within the right-of-way, and so that we can actually tie our residents directly into to get right over to the mall and any other location by foot traffic, so that we can encourage that. If you look on the sides, all three sides, we wanted to drop this in on an aerial so that you could see the residents. And the residents are, most of the residents on the south and just to the southeast of the site have a lot of existing buffering. And so if you can see our required 30-foot buffer, and then you can see how far the units are pushed back even from there. So the units on the west, the east, and the south, all of those are roughly about 60 feet away from the property line. And so we pushed them that extra 30 feet away from the property line just to give extra distance, so that we're very sensitive to not only saving existing trees, but also buffering with new vegetation and year-round evergreens. When we had the May 19th meeting, one of the big things that came out from the residents was fencing. And so we said that we are amenable to make conditions of the zoning that we would have to provide perimeter fencing around here. It sounded like that there is I guess, foot traffic that may travel, from the commercial into the neighborhood. And so we wanted to make sure that our perimeter was secure for the neighbors, and so we're amenable to any type of fence that would work for that. As we were going over, we're at 162 units. We're about half rear and half front. And of that, we have some pictures of the style of the units. And so we're trying to go away from, I know you guys are seeing so much of just the side paneling and everything, and go to more of the brick, the stone, and the basically the board and bat look. And we've got different materials that you can see with the brick, how the roof lines can work on the different materials, and this would be the alley-fed units, and so that we're able to mix those materials and come up with something very unique for the site, and so that it has a good presence the way that it sits as you drive into the community with that. We were looking at kind of the final slide that I had in the back was just some of the findings that then, in the future, and they projected out, we were able to actually get our counts early on, and so we're actually able to get our counts before the COVID kind of shut down everything throughout the country. And so in getting the counts, the traffic still came out that was very favorable to us, especially with where Reservoir comes in at that location for it. Guest parking is the last thing I'll hit on, and then leave any amount of time. We have about 64 spaces on the site. We felt like that was a good scenario. Like we said, we want to create a very unique housing option this close to the mall, so that people have the ability to walk to the surrounding retail facilities, to the mall, and everywhere else. They can also drive a very short distance, but they have a very lock-and-go lifestyle. This will have a master HOA. The home values we anticipate to be around 250 and go up from there, and that is very comparable and even more than some of the surrounding areas, and that especially on a square footage basis for these. And so we also anticipate the HOA will do all the maintenance, and so if you are going on a vacation or you're going anywhere, you're able to just kind of lock and go and not worry about the grass being cut or anything of that nature. And so with that, I'll leave any amount of time for questions or rebuttal you may have.
Thank you. So first question, I guess, just looking and just kind of considering where Firestone is located, and just hearing cars going in and out, the jacks and the different accessories of Firestone.
Right.
Can you give us some idea as far as from a sound perspective, buffers for air quality as well as noise?
Sure. You can kind of see you can see the furniture store, and then you can also see the automotive store. And so that corner there, when you come in on that right-hand side, that's one of the largest kind of frontage green areas that we have. And so one of our plans is to preserve as much of the existing foliage as we can on that, but are also planning basically an evergreen buffer. We talked about doing, and we just haven't reached to that level yet, but we're talking about doing an evergreen screening at multiple rows of that, because we do think when you look at it from a distance, the majority of the residents are going to be well away from it, but there's a couple of units that stretch up there toward the top, and so they would be a little bit closer, and so it's really going to be that fencing and that screening is going to be what's best. But also, I don't want to deny, we are wanting to be close to the activity center, close to the mall, close to that. And so the lifestyle, of living close to, kind of a little city center here is that there will be, some noise from the commercial, and that's, that the sound attenuation in the new construction, especially this level, needing to hit the 250s for a townhome, will be high quality windows, and so that will also be a big deal while you're inside your house. The sound attenuation will be at a higher level too. And so beside the buffering, you also have the interior.
Okay. And then let me ask you, I know from a study of the survey as far as the traffic study, you said that, we had some current information there, more recent information. I just know making that turn by Wells Fargo, this traffic backed up on the Chapel Hill Road.
Right.
So how do we overcome that for a development if you're going to have additional traffic and residents going back and forth off of that main access there?
Sure. One of the things that I think will be helpful in this area is and I'm hoping that this is kind of a trend as a reinvigoration of the mall in the area, is bringing the residential much closer to that, to that area, because there's so much, dense commercial, retail, everything, every type of retail you can think of, restaurants, is kind of in this general area. And so depending on how people get there, whether they're coming, at lunchtime, coming in the evenings, whatever that traffic is, having the residential to where they can live there, we just think that's a better offset. Obviously leaving in the morning, they're coming out and they're needing to make those exits onto those roads. They're, coming from here, leaving in the morning, if that's what they're doing. I think we're going to see a lot of remote, honestly, from here forward. But coming and leaving is coming from, oh my gosh, that's so loud, sorry. Coming and leaving from kind of the city center, whether if they work in the area, it's even better. But if they don't work in the area, they're leaving from the, the congested area and going elsewhere. And so coming home is going to be the toughest part of the day, and that's probably where you're talking about the turns. It would be on the trip home, coming back on Chapel Hill. I'm guessing that's what it would be.
Either that or even during the noontime hours. I mean, it is just congested, and on the weekends.
But I don't see, like on the weekends, if you live here, I think you're looking for that lifestyle that you're in the mix, right? I mean, you're at the mall, you're in the area that you're going to want that lifestyle to be. And so on lunchtime, if they don't work in the area, then I would think that they're leaving in the morning, and then they won't be around there at lunchtime. And so if they live here and then they also work here, that's great, because they're either probably multimodal or they're probably either driving a very short distance to get to work. And so to me, the having the residential right here in the kind of the heart of the commercial area helps that traffic flow, because you're not fighting the same trip times. If you just put, this was actually zoned years ago in Douglas County for like 70,000 square feet of office, and I think it was 90 townhomes, and that extra office obviously is too hidden for it to be very viable. But that type of trip is the same as what's around it, and that's where you get additional traffic from. But bringing the residents here, they're buying here to make a choice that they want to be in kind of a little center, and they'll probably be able to figure out how they navigate best, whether they go around the mall or navigate other areas, or it might be easier just to get on Chapel Hill, because it's such a short distance from them from here to get to where you're needing to go. And so it is a little bit of different lifestyle than if you live outside of this area and you're driving into the congested area. It's just, you're kind of buying here and understanding that part of it.
Okay, other questions?
Yeah, I'm not too worried about their lifestyle. I'm worried about our lifestyle. To put in there that there's no significant change in traffic operations from no build scenario condition, I think you really got to stretch it. I'm like Martin. I'm in that area all the time. You add another 150 or 200 cars, that place is just going to be unbelievable. I just don't think the area can absorb that kind of traffic. I just don't think so. Based on I'm in and out of there all the time, and I just don't see any way. I didn't see another in and out to this. Is there just one way in and one way out?
It is at Reservoir, yes.
Okay.
And that way it's controlled. And
okay.
And if it's, with having the homes, it's, like I said, it's a different trip time that's in the area. And our traffic engineer, when he did the study, he found, that was his findings. Because if this, got zoned to be a commercial development, then the trip times would be more of the same for the surrounding, and that would be much more additional traffic.
We looked at the numbers. The numbers looked a little bit on the low side for us. So,
and we're happy to go back and look at that. Like I said, I mean, we're very encouraged by the idea of this and its relation, so we're willing to look at anything you guys give us.
Can you get that other entrance? That would make it probably a palatable situation if it had another way in or out.
So we've definitely, and Brian Musoff, the owner, can speak to this. We have really been trying to get an access through those commercial developments to go directly out into that location, and that's been a tough sledding. But I mean, we're not stopping, trying to get it, but we've definitely hit a lot of roadblocks with them thinking it's going to impair their commercial development, which I think is crazy. It's all a mixed use, and that's what the whole area needs, is to be mixed use. But we've really hit some roadblocks trying to get it. We've been at that for months.
Right. Another question for you. If why wouldn't you have submitted this to the county? Why the need for annexation to come into the city?
I mean, when we look at it, when I go back to our map, it's completely surrounded.
But you could have asked the county for the same thing, could you not?
I mean, I can let Brian answer it, but I think it was just more of the city services. We're having a relationship with the county and other projects, and
Nothing to do with density or anything like that?
I think you can do the same thing, unless I'm wrong, probably in the county.
If you can come up and give us your name and address,
more
please.
density than this in the county.
Yeah.
Sure. Brian Musoff, Inline Communities, 144 Whitlock Avenue. So, to answer your question directly, Joe Fowler, who couldn't be here tonight, as we looked at this project together and determined where to submit it, he felt like the city it made sense when you look at it and you look at that map. It's a hole in the donut right now. And
Well, it made sense to go from 3 units per acre to 10?
Well,
that sounded like that was a pretty good deal.
I guess to your question, what the county is, in 2006, what they approved, and it had a reversion if it wasn't built, that the zoning would go back. They zoned something that's much more intense, both from a traffic and a density standpoint, than what we are proposing today. So I think, I have not done a project in the city in the past, but I was very encouraged after meeting with your staff and with Joe, and they, it seemed like the right thing to do.
Yeah, I don't particularly have a problem with 10 units per acre, but I do with all the traffic. I just don't think the traffic with one in and out that can, without just destroying the rest of us, that's a workable situation. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I understand that, and I also, and I don't have the full traffic report in front of me, and it sounds like you all have looked at it, but it's, they're not made up numbers. It is a very small percentage of the existing traffic today. So when you think about it, that way, and how those trips are dispersed over, a full day, it really is, it's not impacting it, as opposed to, as Ken spoke earlier, if this was a commercial development and people were commuting to it, it would actually make a much bigger impact against it.
I have a question, please.
Go ahead.
If this proposal was to be passed this evening, since these are fee simple properties, townhome properties, in your covenants, which I assume you will have covenants, would there be any restrictions on what could be rentals and what could only be homeowners?
Yeah, we'd be happy to put a rental restriction, look at the covenants, and, we're going to have protective covenants on there, and we'd be happy to do that. We've done them as low as, 10% and even as low as 5% rental. They can't be zero, just because there are special circumstances for people who live there where they have to rent it when they come into some sort of an emergency situation. But yeah, we can definitely do that as a part of the covenants. Look at protective covenants there.
Thank you.
I do have a question in regards to the school study. And the school study came back that all 3 schools are currently operating over designated capacity. So what are some of the thoughts on addressing some of the concerns there from the school system, and how many students will be impacting the schools?
Yeah, we have not had a conversation with the school system, beyond, the application. Unfortunately, traffic, something sometimes you can, mitigate a little bit. Schools, I can't build more classrooms or anything like that. They are going to be homeowners who will be paying school taxes. This isn't, some sort of a school exempt use. So, they'll be paying their fair share, just, like everyone else in the district.
Other questions? All right, at this time, is there anyone that would like to come forth and speak in favor of this application? Please come forth at this time. Give us your name and address. Anyone that would like to speak in favor of? All right, well, likewise, anyone that would like to speak other than in favor of, please come forth at this time. If you give us your name and address and reason why you're not in favor of this particular application.
My name is Cindy Welch. I live at 3002 Concord Way, Douglasville. That's Heritage Valley subdivision. I have a couple questions. I'm trying to figure out why they're doing such a density in there and why they're all showing one-car garages. I don't know anybody that only has one car. And can you imagine what that's going to look like? You drive in there and you got cars parked everywhere, all over the street, all over the driveway. I mean, it seems like if you're going to do a development, do a nice development. Not something that looks good on paper, and when you get out there and give it 5 years, it'll look like slums. And I don't understand why a developer wants to put something there. And let me tell you something about the traffic. Right now, I was going out on Chapel Hill one day, and traffic was backed up onto the I-20 bridge trying to get south on Chapel Hill. And the problem is Wells Fargo has closed down the Wells Fargo on Highway 5, the Wells Fargo on Lee Road, and the Wells Fargo in Villa Rica. And the only one that's available is that one. You can go to I can drive to Wells Fargo in Powder Springs and get back before I could have sat through the traffic at this one. I sat through it one day, 58 minutes sitting in that traffic. So I'll drive to Powder Springs, and it takes me 10 minutes to go through their drive-through, and I'm out. So adding 160 homes, is that what he says?
Yes.
160 homes.
162
And you know
units,
there's
yes.
going to be 2 cars in most of those homes. That's 320 more vehicles. And where are they going to put them if they only have 1-car garages? I mean, there is a new townhome development in Powder Springs right now. It is beautiful. And they have some front-loading garages, and they have some rear-loading garages. They need to go over and take a look at that and see if they can't do the same thing. Because it's going to be a mess in Heritage Valley. We're going to have all the noise, and, you know, people are still going to walk through there unless they put up those fences. And hopefully they won't climb over the fences, but don't put it past kids. And that's the other thing. I wish they would limit this to an over 55 development. We need some more of those in Douglas County. There's one on Slater Mill Road, the Haven. There's one on West Stewart Mill Road that J. Franklin Lee did, and it has turned out nice. And I think this would be a great place. Over 55, they could get in there, they could walk to the mall, they could walk to Target, they could walk to places to eat, the bank, and we would not have all those cars. But we don't need a bunch of young families with kids living in that development.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any comments or feedback to anything as far as allowing additional cars, or the thought there would be more than 1 car per unit, as well as anything as far as the material and thoughts of maybe changing the makeup of the demographics?
So, you know, a couple of thoughts, and I'll take a minute if that's okay, to answer those concerns. So, you know, starting with the senior, and you know, I've done senior projects before, and you know, they're great. We've got an opportunity here to do something that we think makes sense for, you know, all ages. And there will be seniors. There'll be a lot of empty nesters in here, I'm certain, but we don't want to, you know, just pigeonhole to only, you know, one particular type of buyer, first of all. And this is a major investment for, you know, for me and my investors, and that's not something that, you know, we're willing to do. Regarding the, you know, the garages, we're willing to do a certain number of 2-car garages if that's a hot button issue for, you know, anyone here. What I would say is, I've got a 2-car garage. We park 0 cars in the garage because my wife's got it, and I have it filled up with, different things. If you give people a 2-car garage, most people still only park 1 car in that garage. It's not usually, that doesn't necessarily make it any better for anyone. We'll still have parking in the driveway. As Ken mentioned earlier, we've got 60+ surface parking areas, surface spots as well. We can add more surface parking. So I feel very confident that we can have designated parking. People won't be parking all over the sidewalks and the streets. We'll have plenty of parking both in 1-car garages, driveways, and designated parking throughout it.
Okay, thank you. All right. Again, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak other than in favor of this application? Please come forth at this time. Anyone would like to speak other than in favor? All right, are there any other questions or comments from the board?
May I make a comment to what you just stated, sir, that even if you have a 2-car garage, that does not mean that most people will park in that, but you certainly can cover that in your covenants. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Wanted to confirm there was going to be a fence around the property, but then I see
we're totally willing. We don't have it in our plans because it had come up afterwards, but we're willing to put up the whole perimeter fence.
there's a potential pedestrian connection out of that on the I'm assuming the north side.
Yeah. So what we are talking about is as we've been talking, we are trying to get a vehicular connection through one of the out parcels. We've been trying for months, and we've hit. It's just I'm kind of shocked as his designer, but and he deals on the real estate side with how difficult.
Yeah, I'll speak to that. So CBL still owns the owner of the mall, still owns all 3 of those out parcels right there. We began by trying to purchase a small piece to have a connection through there. We thought it would benefit them. We told them we'd build their driveways into their spots. So essentially, we're developing a little piece of their land for them. They weren't interested in that. They asked us just to buy it all. So we said, sure. We're paying. I'm not going to give you the exact dollars, but we're paying $10 an acre for the for everything that we are buying over here. Here is $12 an acre. We know your property's commercial, will pay you more, and they came back at over 3 times that. So they came back at $8 and said, that's what it costs. We can't write it down. It's on our books for this number, and it's a number that's hundreds and hundreds of thousands per acre, and it's something that's why they're still sitting there years later. And so it's completely unworkable. It doesn't matter unless we want to build some apartment complexes on it, which is not something I do. There's no way someone could pay that kind of that freight. So I'm hopeful at some point they're going to see the light of day and just sell us the acreage for a connection road through there, because I think it really would benefit and probably speed their ability to get those parcels developed. But that's where we are with CBL right now.
They allow a pedestrian walkway?
They have not agreed to it yet.
Okay, but you were looking for vehicular first.
We were asking for vehicular.
All right, any other questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just think this thing needs a little bit more work. I think there's needs to be looked at again. I think another entrance would be appropriate. However they can do that, I can just see it now. The traffic is just going to be a mess. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. When you say the map, I'm sorry. Yes. If you can come to the podium, please. Yes.
On the screen, they had a map of the property, and it showed Heritage Valley. Could we see that again, because they went through that so fast?
Probably in here, Martin.
Yeah, I'm sure it's in the.
That's not it. It's not the map.
Sandy, it probably shows it here. It's on, everything's here.
Yeah.
It was about the second or third.
Is it this one?
Are those gonna be all rear loaded? See
border?
see where Heritage Valley Drive is, Concord Way, Heritage Valley Court? That area right there, is that gonna be rear loaded garages or front?
Yeah.
Property line to the basically a patio
Okay.
on the
'Cause
back.
I didn't know what the things on the back were.
Those are all front loads, so the
those are like
streets are away
patios?
from, yeah, the streets are away from you. That's just, they're all two-story, not three-story structures, and so it would be just a
That's this
patio,
time.
and then a 10-foot patio, and then you have the structure.
Okay.
So the structure is about 70 feet from the property line.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
All right, you're welcome. All right, well, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion for item 20-334.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we deny item number 20-334.
All right, motion been made. Is there a second to the motion?
I second.
All right, motion been properly made and seconded. Are there any further comments or discussion? All right, being none, all those in favor of the motion to deny will manifest by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to the motion would do likewise.
Aye.
All right, motion to deny has been carried. All right, thank you. All right, the last item for new business tonight is item 20-275. And it's to hold a public hearing to consider requests for a change in zoning for public, semi-public to heavy industrial for 12.24 acres at 1436 Municipal Parkway and 11850 Veterans Memorial Highway in Land Lot 734, District 8, Section 2, Parcel 4, and Land Lot 745, District 18, Section 2, Parcel 9. At this time, we have Patrice Williams, who will be bringing us staff updates and comments related to this petition.
All right, Patrice Williams, Community Development Director, 6701 Church Street. The item before you is a referral to the Planning Commission from Mayor and Council for a city-initiated rezoning for property located at 1436 Municipal Parkway and 11850 Veterans Memorial Highway. The property is currently zoned PSP, Public Semi-Public, and the current use is a concrete manufacturing company. Previous zoning maps and zoning certifications show the property as heavy industrial. There is no record of a change in zoning from heavy industrial to public semi-public. It is believed that during the adoption of the Unified Development Ordinance in zoning map, the property was inadvertently zoned PSP due to their relationship with the Douglasville City Development Authority. The current status of the property is legal non-conforming. However, the status will prevent them from expanding in the future.
All right. So just for clarification, this is really an administrative request?
It is administrative. We need to make a correction to our map.
Gotcha. All right. All right, is there any questions to city staff? All right, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this application? Please come forth. Anyone who would like to speak in favor of? Likewise, anyone who would like to speak other than in favor, please come forth. Anyone who would like to speak other than in favor, please come forth. All right, any questions or comments from the board? All right, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion for item 20-275.
I'll make a motion to approve item 20-275.
All right, motion been made. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion been properly made and seconded. Any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor of the motion manifest by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed will do likewise. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we're going to move over into staff reports at this time of our agenda. So we'll ask Ms. Patrice Williams to please come forth.
Per your request, I wanted to give a tally of the last round of meetings, the votes. And so we have item 20, it was item -2296 here, but the numbers change when we go to council. This was for the used car dealership. You guys recommended approval. Also, mayor and council, they recommended approval as well. And so the next item was 20-295. That was for Brian Cardoza. He was looking to do a couple of warehouses. The planning commission recommended denial. Mayor and council approved it. Then we have item 20-294. It was Durley. It was for senior housing. The planning commission recommended approval. Mayor and council also approved that item. And then we also have our final item would be 20-293. This was also Durley. This was by Southport Financial. This was for senior housing as well. The planning commission recommended denial. Mayor and council voted to approve it.
All right, any other staff comments or updates? I do want to just ask, I know that in some of the recommendations and stipulations for approval, we have the 1-year period of review. I'm just wondering, are we starting to come up on that, where we have anything in the hopper that we need to bring forth, or?
We do have, but they are verified by staff, so if there's a problem, we'll bring it to you, but if there's no issues with it, then we'll just keep things the way that they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, and again, I would like to thank my fellow commissioners for coming out to the mayor and city council special meeting on the 20th. Thank you again for being present, and looking forward to working with the city's mayor and council as they talked about retreats and getting an opportunity to talk about the establishing priorities and precedents, and hearing the views from the mayor and city's council. So that was a very informative meeting, and thank the staff for being there as well. Are there any other business to come before us this evening? All right, being none, I'd like to entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right, motion been made, properly seconded. Are there any further comments or questions or discussion? Being none, all those in favor of the motion manifest by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed will do likewise. Motion carried, meeting adjourned. Good evening.